AI is pretty much killing everything, or this is what people say. And one of the most killed industry is SaaS. But looking at the analysis online, they're all partial and they don't say the full story. So I happened to found a post by a man I didn't know called Tal Paperin, who went really deep in detail about how AI is killing SaaS. And if I can summarize that post with one sentence, according to Tal, AI didn't kill SaaS, but it killed lazy sales motion. And this is exactly the reason why I reached out to Tal and I asked him to join me today on this episode of the show. Nice to meet you, Tal, and happy to welcome you here.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine.
So, Tal, just a few words on yourself because the audience probably doesn't know who you are. I got to know you, but I think you have a lot of stories to tell. So, feel free to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So, my name is Tal Paperin, and these days I position myself as a business consultant or a fractional CRO, and I specialize in sales. The only thing I ever did for the past 22, 23 years is sales. Most of it was software, some of it was hardware, some of it was other things, mostly tech. But for the past slightly over 20 years, I've been doing sales all around the globe, mostly in the United States and the European Union, but also Asia and Africa and Eastern Europe. Sales is the name of the game. And 15 years into my career, I realized that these days sales are as bad as it gets. It was never as bad. The CEOs and founders have zero understanding of what they're doing. And it is very visible when you participate in an international trade show like Medica or Spoga GAFA or Fruit Logistica, and you see that there's 5, 10, 20,000 companies, and you know that according to statistics, 90% of those companies are going to go under. They'll go bankrupt. And it's not because they have a bad product. They have a fantastic product. They have investors. They have the money. They come to the trade show. They have a website. They have everything's going on. They just don't know how to sell. They don't know how to sell and where to sell. And that's what I do.
Thank you, Tal, and thank you for this introduction. It seems that you have a broad, worldwide experience. But as I shared with you, what really caught my eye is your analysis on how AI is impacting SaaS, but on the sales perspective.
Not just because at the end of the day, SaaS is an abbreviation, right? It's software as a service. So on the product side, that's a whole different story. How do you write software? If back in the day you need millions of dollars, teams of dozens or hundreds of developers to write the software, now you have AI to do that for you. You have the good developers using AI as a tool if they know how to use it, and it helps them a lot. So you have the software. Since I'm a salesman, I'm focusing on the sales side of it. Okay, so once you're a company and you have that SaaS, now what? How do you sell it? Where do you sell it? How do you sell it to? And whom and why? That's what I do.
That's great. And Tal, I have a question related to what you wrote. Uh, you're basically saying AI didn't kill SaaS, killed lazy sales motion. I want to know what led you to that conclusion based on your experience and based on, all these years of consulting, engagement, and these years of fractional CRO activities that you're doing.
Absolutely. So, a quick intro. You know what the snake oil salesman is, right? So, if you look at salespeople in the wild, wild west, when they show up with a wagon and they say, "This magical potion of mine will heal all of your diseases and will grow your hair back," people will be like, "Oh my God, that's amazing," and they would buy it. Would it work these days? Absolutely not. When you, as a salesperson, or when you, as a company, show up in front of a buyer, and show up, it could be a meeting, but it could be on your website, and you claim that here's what your product does, here's the benefits it'll give you. What's the first thing that the buyer will do? He's going to Google you. He's going to read the reviews about you. He's going to look into your competitors. The buyer has changed drastically. The amount of information, the amount of knowledge, and the ability to compare, to benchmark, and to review your and other possible solutions has undergone drastic changes in the past, let's say, 20 years, but especially now with AI, because the buyer got a bit lazier, not as lazy as the salesperson, but lazy. For example, if back in the day you knew what the problem was and you would Google a potential solution, now you just ask AI, give me a possible solution. So it's not only that the sales haven't caught up with the buyer, it's the buyer's journey that changed. That's the main point.
Got it. And other than, the buying journey that changed, what are the kind of transitions or changes you're seeing every day? They make you believe really hard that, AI is killing the lazy sales motion. What are the trigger events you see every day?
So let's take 2025. I hired, trained, and managed around 50 salespeople. About half of them were junior SDRs, and about half of them were AEs. Okay? I saw internal correspondences in companies of hundreds of people sizes, like large companies. The entire communication between salespeople and marketing and management was done by AI. A salesperson says to ChatGPT, review the email that the manager sent me and draft a response. Okay? So he sends the response. The manager is too busy to deal with it. So he copy paste the email to ChatGPT or to Gemini and generate a review. So when you get those two salespeople and management into a board meeting or into a room, you guys, do you know what you talked about in the past week? They don't. They just copy pasted it straight into ChatGPT. They don't even remember what the conversation is about. Okay? You have that. You start a new vertical. So you say, okay, I'm selling a software for dental dentists. Okay? What's the best script for me to use? ChatGPT gives you a script without even reviewing it. You feed it to some AI tool or to a dialer, or you give it to salespeople and you use that. When you get them into a meeting, do you know what you're saying? Do you know why you're saying it? What's the reason? Do you know what you're selling? Okay. I see companies that say to ChatGPT or Gemini, our product is, give me 5 bullets to train salespeople on it. So they create training material, they create sales scripts, they create websites, they create campaigns. AI is not there yet. What I'm saying, it's not autonomous. It's if you take a hammer, you put it on the table, and you say to a person, hammer a nail in. The person needs to pick up the hammer, not to smack his finger in, and know how to hammer a nail. What we're seeing is the hammer is on the table. People are looking at the hammer and say, hammer the nail. And it doesn't. And like, why is my company bankrupt? Why? Where are the sales? We have such a fantastic product. How come there's no revenue? How come companies like that's it?
Got it. So it's day-to-day experience and struggles working with your clients. Um, Coming back to what you wrote in the post, you say that for years, buyers and we ourselves have tolerated really high, and better to say short sales cycles, okay? Per seat pricing, subscription models, and order taking sales teams. Because, as you say, this is what the world was, able to give us. Now, other than these technological changes, what's the other most important shift you're seeing on the buyer side that makes these old behaviors, short sales cycle, pricing per seat, subscription models, not sustainable and not tolerable anymore?
A company has developed a SaaS product. Okay, I'm not gonna say the company, but it's a company that recently went through Series C. Totally, they raised around $200 million. They have a product. They're about 400 people. Okay, mostly developers that develop the product. They're selling this product for $600 a user a month. I really like the product, but I have a company that I want to introduce it. They don't have the money for that. I took one developer and using ChatGPT, I built a GPT that does exactly that, replicates the product. Took me a day. Okay? Free, nobody pays anything. Okay? And it was me. I don't have that much developing experience. I'm a salesman, I'm not a software developer, but I could do it. If I wouldn't be able to do it, I would go to ChatGPT and say, here's the software that I want to use, build something for me. Or how do I build something for free? Or how do I build something dirt cheap? Gemini. Users see it. It doesn't matter what you do. Okay. Now let's take the next step. The next step is, so there's a very expensive premium product. Other software developers companies say, listen, I can sell something like that for 10% of the price. Easily, I'll just build it and repackage it in Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever tool. Now the buyer sees that now instead of having one tool, there's 100 different softwares. Okay. So if the big guys are charging you per user hundreds of dollars, the small guy doesn't care. Is out of India or Pakistan or whomever, it's a digital nomad. He doesn't care. He's like, you know what? How about this? I'll give it to you for free. Okay. But I'll charge you $1 out of every $100 that you make thanks to my tool. People are going to jump on that. So wait, now there's an introduction of a new business model. So the big guys are like, what happened to my sales? Oops. Because you're a dinosaur. You haven't noticed that while you're pompous and so full of yourself, thinking that nobody's going to replicate or duplicate because there's the so-called patents, in the meantime, there's 100 competitors already doing something better and faster, cheaper.
So we're all about the kind of outcome-driven way of pricing or even way of, let's say, selling software. And other than these signals, if you had to point another couple, other 2, 3, based on your experience, based on what you're seeing, what would you mention?
Allow me to take a step back. What is sales? What is sales? Sales is all about providing a solution to a problem. Okay, at a specific niche, specific vertical, specific country. Okay, if my ICP, ideal customer profile, does not have a problem, he's not my ICP and he's not going to buy. Okay, so the buyer is someone with a problem or an issue. Waste of time, waste of money, waste of product. He wants to speed up things. He wants to achieve something. It could be even emotional. It doesn't matter. Okay, the point is that he has a need. That's how they buy. I have a problem. I have a broken arm. Where's the nearest ER? Okay. I have a solution. I have a factory. I need to optimize the manufacturing line. How do I do that? Okay. ChatGPT, Gemini, who's out there to help me? Or in other words, the buyers are now more aware of the fact that they have a problem, but there's endless amount of solutions out there for various price point, for various business model, revenue share, joint ventures, partnerships, or pay-per-use, paper, whatever, endless amount. The buyers are more aware of what's out there than ever before. And AI is making their decision making significantly easier. If right now I want to buy a phone, okay, I have a son, he's 14 years old, he had a crappy Xiaomi 12, okay? So I say, ChatGPT, my son has a crappy Xiaomi 12, I want something at this price point. What do you recommend? So it's a Xiaomi 14. I'm like, okay, is there 15? Yes, there is. How do they compare? That's the comparison. Okay, any other phones out there at this value? Samsung's, okay? And it gives me a list. My decision making became, okay, now give me the link. Gives me a link. That's it. I'm done. Okay? Took me 5 minutes. If, let's say, 5 years ago, you'd use Google. So you say, okay, you start comparing prices. I don't want to compare prices. I want to compare features, outcomes, benefits. I want to read reviews. I do all of that without leaving the same browser, the same platform of AI.
Got it. So AI facilitates the decision making even more than anything else. And I want to go back at the beginning of our conversation when you were introducing how, let's say, companies, founders know nothing about sales and the game is totally broken. Okay. In fact, this is something that relates to your post too, because you make these, strong point as you just made it, that founders, leaders are reacting in the wrong way to this change of structure. Okay. They add more tools, they add AI to increase sales, they increase activity, but they basically run the same sales motion that we were talking about in the previous question. So the same, let's say, transactional thing, the same subscription based one. So what does the right reaction should look like instead? What should they do?
Great question. Okay, that's a great question, and I'll give you the key to sales. AI, the way I see it, and that this is the future of sales. AI has one large negative, only one. It's going to be perfect. AI is going to be smarter than us, way more knowledgeable, but it will always have only one unfixable flaw. It's AI and it is not human. Humans would like to interact with humans and not with a machine. Okay, hold on. So that's the base. That's the baseline. What does that mean? It means that if a salesperson calls a prospect or goes to a meeting and he acts like AI, he's selling, he talks about his benefits, he talks about his features, he talks about his pricing, he talks about himself, his company, his product, he's basically trying to compete with an AI or with a chatbot, and he will always lose. The only way to win in sales, and it has always been like that, is to focus on the prospect. It's ask the prospect, what is your current situation? What is your pain? How bad is it? To be able to differentiate between the pain and the symptom. Dig deeper. Ask hard questions. Sell. That's what sales is all about. Understand who's in front of you. Why do they want to change the current situation they're in? What will happen if they won't? And move them emotionally. Okay? A man to a man, or a woman to a woman, or you know where I'm going with this. Humans are capable of emotionally moving the buyer. They're buying emotionally and justify the decision logically. AI is logical. There's no emotions in AI. When AI is trying to be your friend, you laugh at it. You're like, this is ridiculous. Okay, I don't want to be a friend with an app. I want to be a friend with somebody who cares about my business. Okay, I understand that he's in sales. I get that he'll make some money off me. I understand. But if he asks me the right question, he says, okay, you have that problem? Okay, that's the problem. What will happen if you won't fix it in 3 months? It gets me thinking. I'm getting emotional, and then I create an emotional connection with the salesperson. That's the only advantage.
Got it. So this is where they should focus basically. Let's say focus the right training and the right message inside the company towards the human side of the sales interaction, because the more we compete on activities, the more we will lose against the machine, which is now probably our biggest competitor. And
listen, it's very simple. Like, do you understand? Like, if I hire an SDR and I say I'm expecting you to make 200 dials a day, and here's your script, okay? So he picks up the phone and he calls and he repeats off a piece of paper. I have an auto dialer that dials 10,000 numbers an hour, and its voice is flawless. It's not a couple of years back when you could, okay, you won't be able to determine that it's an actual machine that you're speaking to. Zero capability. So the machine is much better than the SDR. So why do I need him? I don't, if that's his job. So he is either going to be jobless, and I'm giving you a simple example of an SDR, okay? Or that entire role needs to change. They need to get retrained into the original meaning, or the proper meaning of what sales are all about. Sales are not about you and your company and your product and your stupid features that nobody cares. It's all about the buyer and your ability of talking to a buyer.
Let's say this. Let's say that I'm a CEO of a mid-sized company or a revenue leader of, let's say, a big company. I call you today and I ask you, Tal, please help me make the first 3 decisions to realign my sales team to how buyers are buying today, what would you suggest me to do?
That is a process. It should take time. Okay. First of all, be patient. Step two, you need to get as much information, analysis about your buyer as possible. Who are they? Physically, envision them. Okay. Is it a 20 to 35-year-old white male from New Jersey, New York, and Massachusetts? How do they live their life? What do they do daily? Okay, is it a CTO of an insurance company? Is it a VP marketing at university? Who is it? Okay, why would they want to be doing their job? They do their job. What's in it for them? What do they like? What are the barriers? Okay, what at all they're interested in is advancing through the career ladder, or they care about their own businesses, so they want to see the company succeed. What are the barriers? Okay, and once you build a profile as detailed as possible about the buyer, then you move to the next step. What issues are they experiencing? Okay, what makes them pissed off, sad, upset, emotional? Once again, we're not at the logical stage yet. Okay, it's not that when you call somebody and you say, due to inefficient HR software, you're losing 7% of. Who's that? The hell of. Okay, no, you need to understand why are they pissed. What's driving them? What causes them to be happy? Emotional. Okay, either way, negative or positive, it doesn't matter. Then how do you plug that into the logical solution? And only then you see what is it that you do that makes their life better and how. And then you move to and now how do we connect the dots? How do we connect the salesperson to the person, to the buyer, to the need, to the emotion, and move them through the funnel?
Got it. Makes sense, and thank you for these, detailed answer. I have a follow-up question. Talking about emotion, talking about humans, and talking about SaaS and software and whatsoever. Do you think we are going back again to an increase of face-to-face meetings, and we are a little bit dropping all the remote way of selling?
Very tricky question. So it's very generational. You can clearly see that the younger generations, they are incapable of having a conversation, like a face-to-face conversation, right? They're emotionally, developmentally unstable. So they're like, for example, I want to ask a question. Okay, I want to ask my wife a question. I'll call her. I'll pick up the phone and call. Okay, my sons will send me a text. Okay, that's the difference. So now when there's so much research done on the topic, buyers don't want to talk to people. They want to have an email, they want to have a message, and not even that. So that's one side. It's also very geographically based, like Europe versus the United States versus Asia versus Africa. There are global trade shows with hundreds of thousands of people. Okay, so those guys will never use AI to close a deal. They will never buy based off an email. I used to be a week abroad, a week home, a week abroad, a week home. I would fly 2 meetings internationally. Okay, I managed sales in Western Europe, so once a month I'd fly to Holland, Belgium, Germany, France, Italy, come home for a week. Then I'd fly to Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Poland, Romania, Hungary, come back for a week. Those guys will never buy from me based on a phone call or an email, and it doesn't matter how sweet I sound. That said, we'll see where this is going to go.
Another question for you. And this is something that relates to what you were saying at the beginning. If I can go on ChatGPT and clone everything about the example of your $600 seat software of that client of yours. And this is a strong claim you make also on your post when you say that if AI can clone the product, the advantage isn't the software anymore, but it's the sales system that becomes the real advantage. So in the real world nowadays, When you say really real advantage, what does it look like? What kind of behaviors does it shape? Curiosity, empathy, uh, ability to ask insightful question. If you had to make a list and give it to someone, what kind of, let's say, words would you put on that list?
Number one is trainability. I'm not a sales trainer. There are great sales trainers out there to whom I listen to the podcast, I read the books, I see them on YouTube. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I need training all the time. Things change, things adapt. I need training after 20 years. So if somebody's been in sales for 2, 3 months or even a year or two, and they think that they know everything, they need to be out of this profession as soon as possible. Trainability is number one. Curiosity is number two. Because in order to ask good questions, you need to have natural curiosity. The ability to maintain a conversation is ridiculous. The percentage of people that are incapable of talking. And talking is not talking about themselves and their lives. It's talking meaning ask a question, listen to the answer, understand what was said, ask a follow-up question. Okay? That is a really hard trait to come by. And so on and so forth. And please do notice, like, I work with defense companies or with pharmaceuticals. At no point do I say you need to have product knowledge. Product knowledge is easy. It comes later. And product knowledge is BS. When engineers or scientists or founders, software people are pushing product knowledge onto salespeople, they miss the entire point. Your features and your product is not going to sell. That's not what sells. You need the ability to ask a question and to have a conversation. That's what's going to sell, not your features.
Got it. And probably one of the lines I found in your post that are really interesting. I think my favorite one is when you write that most SaaS companies are running a 2021 sales playbook, in a 2026 market and wondering why results keep degrading. Okay. Now, this reason is really, resonates with me because I do interviews, I do advisory with SaaS companies, and I keep seeing the same patterns, When companies interview me for a sales role, they ask me these outdated sales playbook that I know don't work anymore. When companies ask for help, they want me to implement playbooks, which will crush as soon as we implement them. So the question for you is, do you think we are reaching the end of sales playbook as we traditionally know them?
No. I was in the military for a long time. I was born in the Soviet Union, so I'm all about discipline. Okay? To be good at your job, you need to have discipline, right? You need to get up in the morning, brush your teeth, go to the gym, not eat crap, be physically fit, go to work on time, show up on time, and do what needs to be done. What is it? What is it that you need to be doing? That needs to be in writing somewhere. So you'll always have it in front of your face. Okay? Salespeople, why sales training keeps repeating? Because whatever you learned will change the way you act, but only for a short period of time. You're going to revert back into your old habits. So you need to have training and you need to have that in writing. That's a playbook, okay? Not the garbage from the 60s, the fantastic garbage that worked, but no longer works.
Got it. So we are just seeing a shift in the playbook, but we will always need a map, a direction. I got this. And I have one last question for you, which is more of a closing statement, okay? If you had to leave all the listeners with one thought, something they should start to reflect or act on tomorrow to run, to stop running a 2021 sales motion in a 2026 words and to really adapt to these changes, what kind of statement or advice would you give? Sorry.
I will give the same advice regardless of what year we're on. Okay? It's the same one always. I gave the same advice 10 years ago. Okay? Same advice. If you are a founder or a CEO or you're in sales, the last thing you should care about is you, your company, your products, your features, the so called benefits that you bring. I hate the word value. We bring value. What the hell? Nobody cares. Okay. We cut your work time by 20% and your nobody gives a rat's ass. Okay. No, it's never about you. Stop it. When I ask a salesperson, what do you do? Okay. Instead of them saying, I'm selling this fantastic software that does 8 modules and this module doesn't, no. The answer should be, I help doctors to get 40% more new paying customers and increase the insurance collection by 80%. So at no point a salesperson should say, me, mention the product or what the product does. It's only about the buyer. That's it. You're only focusing on the buyer.